If she had only been ugly.
Wait a second. Here's our intro.
Uh-oh.
Hi, welcome to Dom Irrera live from the Laugh Factory with John Henson today. John, thank you for coming back.
My pleasure. Yeah, always a pleasure
For an
to be
encore,
here.
man.
This is a very cathartic experience for me. I worked through a lot of demons on your podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad. Oh, that's right, you did.
That's right.
Anything else you want to reveal today?
I don't know, man. We'll see where we go.
Let it flow. Now, you just did a bit that was pretty funny, but you can't do it. But can you do it if you give the guy credit?
I could if I could remember who it was. Frank Santarelli?
Oh, okay.
You know Frank Santarelli?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We used to have a great bit about, and I'm not even doing it service. I only remember the bit. It was basically just that you can't help but look like a pussy when you put on chapstick, and he would, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna kick your ass," and then he would go, and it's just a great bit. I haven't seen Frank Santarelli in 20 years or more.
He's a big guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him. I
Yeah.
was doing something for the NFL in Giant Stadium, and he was working for Comedy Central or something. I ran into him a few times. Was he on The Sopranos?
Jeez. I don't know. Was he?
I'm just saying that because he was Italian. I'm so ignorant.
Yeah, it ends in an I.
Probably.
Yeah, they get around to you eventually.
People used to ask me why I wasn't on The Sopranos, like I chose not to be. Yeah, honest to
I
God.
passed.
Yeah, nah, I don't dig that kind of shit. I'd rather do Slappy Bananas over there, in
Right,
Akron,
exactly.
Ohio.
Yeah, I got a great scale plus 10 thing that I'm doing on.
But I mean, like, I love what people do that to you about your career, like pressure of like whatever you're doing, you should be doing something else and something bigger and something whatever. They're never satisfying.
It's this is. I mean, I don't really do it in my act, but it's a story that I tell, and it's the God's honest truth. My father, I'd been doing comedy for a few years, and my dad called me. This would have been like in the early '90s, and he goes, "John, I was watching the Leno program, and they had on this Jerry Seinfeld, and what he did, and what I think you ought to do, is tell these jokes about things that everyone has in common. See, because
It's so easy to write.
When you say your punchline, everyone laughs." And we were on the phone, and I remember thinking so hard, like trying to put it. My dad was like a businessman. I was trying to put it in his terminology to like help him understand how ridiculous that was. And this is what I came up with. And this is all verbatim true. My response was, I went, "Dad, that's like me calling you and saying, I was reading this Fortune 500 magazine, and they had an article about this Sam Walton and what he's done with these Walmart stores. And what I think you ought to do is get yourself a store where everyone shops."
That's
see?
great. What a
and
great
then
idea.
put one of those stores in every single city.
Yeah.
And there was a long pause, and he goes, "Just trying to help."
Thanks, Dad. I like that. Why don't you do that? I love when Bob Saget got Full House, and he was already doing the America's Funniest.
Yeah.
My mother was really supportive of me, but she called me and she goes, Bob Saget's from Philly and you're from Philly. I said, yeah. She goes, well, he's got 2 series. like I didn't have any.
Right.
I'm a recurrer on She's the Sheriff. Isn't that enough?
Let me draw your attention to the scoreboard, Dom. Saget 2.
I remember nothing. Bottom of the 9th.
We'll be back after this.
Well, I think they have no idea how hard it is. They have no idea.
I mean,
I'm not saying that to stroke us, but you can't. People don't understand that writing material is not being funny with your friends.
Right.
If it was that easy, I'd fucking hang with my friends every day and just write 10 minutes.
Yeah, but they do. I mean, relatives will think nothing of telling you, you ought to get a sitcom. Like,
I think I will.
Say.
Let me write that down because then I'll forget.
Yeah, exactly. Let me tie a string around my finger so I don't lose that gem. I mean, it's very difficult for people who, I used to say, being a comic, and I guess less so in the last 10 or 15 years, but certainly like when I started and when you started especially, like it was like becoming a gypsy. Like it was not something that anyone could process. If you're not in that world, you got no fucking clue how it works and what it means.
You have no idea the numbers.
Yeah.
The number you see now, we're here on a Tuesday at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood at Laurel and Sunset. And right outside, there's kids. It's 3:00 in the afternoon here, and there's an open mic at 6:30. There have been people sitting out there all day to get here for the chance of going on for basically nobody. They're going on for other acts, which is the least supportive thing you're ever going to get.
Right.
Because these guys are in competition with each other, so what's their incentive to go, that's great?
Right.
And then Jamie Masada, who owns the place, is not here. So they're basically wasting their time unless they want to practice 3 minutes in front of people that don't want to laugh.
No, and like you said, it's for other acts. It's like a Somali pirate trying to hold up other pirates.
Right.
What's he going to take? Your loincloth?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what can they
Great
get?
analogy.
But it is like, what are you going to get from these guys who would literally tear you limb from limb to get? And when I walked up, I was like, I honestly, when I was walking up, I went, is this like a group of homeless people that
That's
are
what
trying
they
to get
look
in the
like, I
shade?
know.
Like, there's a guy sitting there eating a hamburger, and none of them look necessarily well bathed.
No, I know. Could you imagine this? Bill Burr sat out there.
That's insane.
Bill Burr did it, and he never let Jamie forget it, and Jamie didn't pass him.
Whoa!
And so Bill went back to New York, and then became Billy Burr, then Bill Burr. But he never lets Jamie forget. He's the only one that requests Jamie be on the show with us, so he can bust his balls.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't, but let's.
Bobby Lee won't do it if Jamie does it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh no, he embarrasses me. Bobby's like.
Did Bobby Lee do the?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all right. But that's pretty remarkable, and I'd be willing to bet he's the only guy that like salmon trying to get upstream. Bill might be the only guy that went on from being an open micer to really becoming a
big time act,
internationally recognized act. That
Probably.
guy's unbelievably funny.
Bill?
Yeah.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, he was on 2 weeks ago.
He's great. I just started checking out his Monday morning podcast.
He's crazy too. He's funny. He's crazy. One time he said to me, we're over at the Improv. He goes, man, I never have people on my podcast. I want to have you on it. Because we have a good chemistry with sports and all that shit. And I go, yeah, Bill, I'll do it. He says, yeah, well, let me know when you're available. And I said, after, we're talking to other people, and he just completely changed. I go, you know what, I'm here, I'm in town the next couple of Tuesdays, then after that, I'm here for a week. He goes, listen, man, you're going to do the show. Don't put the full court press on me. So that's been around, the full court press. I said, you're the one that asked me, you fucking nitwit.
Right. I answered a question.
Don't put the full court press. So that's been a running gag that we've had.
But I feel like there are certain guys who their level of insanity is directly related to their level of brilliance. Like Rogan is a guy that's just like you got to fish him off the ceiling. He's brilliant.
Thanks, Greg, our producer. Greg's doing improv, by the way. Supposedly going very well.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What was the place you worked last week? You told me it went well.
Yeah, I did a show called Palapalooza at the Improv Theater.
Palapalooza at the what theater?
Improv Theater.
Oh, is that the one on Pico?
No, it's on Vermont.
Oh, good. Continue the good work, my friend, and thank you.
Yeah, dude. Might want to look into some protein, dude. I'm a little worried about you.
Yeah, you're right.
Everybody wants to be thin. But how much you weigh, Greg?
Honestly, I weigh about 130.
I was going to say 138. I had him too heavy.
He's about 6 foot tall too.
Wow.
I'm heavier than him, believe it or not.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. I don't kid around about that.
You carry it
You
well.
can't tell. I'm big
I want
bone.
to feed that guy with an eyedropper. You know what I mean? Or put him in a box with some swaddling cloth.
Hey, man, don't talk too bad. He could turn us off at any second. That's what people forget how much power they have,
Oh, yeah.
Technical people. I was in St. Louis opening for Cher where the hockey team plays.
Uh-huh.
And he turned off the mic as a joke. 20,000 people. You can't turn off the mic. I'd rather you turn out the lights. At least they could hear me. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I told his name was Beef Boy. He was a great guy. He died overdose, I think. But I said, Beef, you can't fucking turn the mic off.
What? It was great. People loved it.
Yeah, it was funny to see up there, nobody could hear you. I know nobody could hear me. I'm doing stand-up in front of
Right.
20,000 people.
Meanwhile, this guy is going to go on through improv to be like the Bill Burr of improv.
I hope
and
he
he will
does.
request me to come so he can give me shit about when I told him he needed to eat more protein.
Right. Yeah. He's going to let you open for him and then mock you.
Yeah, and when I ask him for some dates, he's going to go, look, don't hard sell me, man. Don't give me the hard press.
Don't give me the full court press, man. I don't need that shit.
Yeah.
So now, your wife is a stand-up?
Yeah,
She's a
my wife
writer.
came out of the improv scene. My wife came
Okay.
out of the Chicago improv scene. She has done stand-up a few times.
What's her
but
name?
She's not. Jill Benjamin.
Jill Benjamin. That sounds familiar. I probably
She
met
was
her.
Seth Meyers' comedy partner. They did
Oh,
a
yeah?
2-person show for about 4 years.
Seth Meyers does comedy?
Well, he did.
I kid.
No, they traveled all over the world doing
No
it.
shit.
Yeah.
My wife was in a comedy team called King and Mendy
Really?
when I was married at the time. And Michael King is the guy who's the one of the creators or producers from Sex and the City. And
Michael
Two
Patrick
Broke-
King, yeah.
Yeah, Michael Patrick King. I forgot.
Yeah, he went to 3 names.
Yeah, when he came out of the
Yeah.
closet, he added a name.
When he married Michael Neil Patrick Harris.
John Beresford Tipton. Do you know who that is? No. It's the guy. This old show called The Millionaire. I don't know if you ever saw that. And $1 million then was like $100 million now.
Oh, yeah.
And they would give $1 million. He was this benefactor who didn't want to be seen, and he would give $1 million to people. That was the whole show.
Really?
The whole show was who he was going to give $1 million to.
And that was, like you said, in an era where,
Oh yeah, that was a real $1 million, not like today's million.
yeah,
So
today's
now-
million is a good start.
What's going on with Wipeout?
Just finished our 7th season.
7 seasons.
Yeah.
John on Wipeout. And he's
Crazy.
on it. And he's terrifically funny, and he would never do any of the stupid shit that these people do.
Never.
Well, I think of that with
Never.
with
It's that is like the bane of my existence doing press for Wipeout is people going, now have you run the course? And it's like I got to a point where after 7 seasons I would just go, you can't ask me that fucking question.
Yeah.
You just every interview I've ever done, how many, and like comics just aren't comfortable coming up with one funny answer and giving
Yeah.
that funny answer 140
Like your road
times
answer.
a season. So I would feel like I got to constantly try to come up with something new, and then invariably you start coming up with shit that doesn't work, and then you just start resenting people for asking a question,
Yeah, that's a pretty stupid question. The one question I always get, and you probably get this on the road when you're doing stand-up, who is your inspiration? What
Don
comedian?
Irrera, that's my answer.
Well, mine too. I say I was inspired by myself. God, I used to love taping myself and laughing.
Really?
No, fucking hate doing that.
My dad, that was another thing my dad said. How come you don't use a video camera? This is the way he termed it. And rehearse your presentation in your apartment
presentation.
so it's the exact same every single time. And I had to look at him and go, I don't think you understand. Like it's the whole point of what I do is that it's not the exact same every time. It's kind of a living, breathing thing. Every
Yeah.
time's a little different. You're reacting to the audience.
Well, that's
and
why
what's
you're
going
funny.
on in your head.
If it was the exact same thing. I could name a few people, but you'd be stuck in their world.
Yeah.
Jamie was pointing something out to me about an act, and I don't want to badmouth him because I like him too much. He said, "Watch this. He'll do the same gestures every time, not just and laugh and fake laugh at his jokes."
That's the fake laugh kills me.
Yeah, there are some acts. There's one woman in particular, and like I'm not. I'm a blabbermouth. I usually name people, but I like her too much. She fucking laughs every time at the same place, acting like she just got a kick out of it. Let them get a kick out of it. You
Yeah.
know the material already,
Yeah.
and if you really laugh, great.
Right.
Like
If you found some new wrinkle of the bit,
Yeah.
you threw out a line of improv and it caught you by surprise and
Yeah.
you laugh, wonderful. But you got to earn that. And I think one of the things that is really Whitney Cummings said this on stage last week when that Wednesday night we did your
Whitney
show.
the squirter coming.
Yeah.
She's talking about squirting a lot.
Well, she said, and I think she said it in her interview with you, is that the audiences have become so educated
Yeah.
that they smell insincerity, they smell quote unquote material, they smell fake laughs. Like an audience that's a real educated comedy audience can tell when you're
Yeah.
flipping on autopilot
I know.
and doing the same old, running it back one more time.
Well, Kevin Nealon had Felipe Esparzo on. Do you ever see Felipe? Yeah. He's really, really fucking funny. He's got this body language. He's like a real weed head looking guy, long hair. But Felipe didn't answer one question. He just went into bits after bit. But now the thing is, they were killing. They were fucking killing. But the audience, I guess they liked him so much that didn't matter.
Right.
That he was like bitten. Like when I was a kid and watching The Tonight Show, other than Dangerfield, who came out and just kept doing his act that just rolled right onto the couch.
Right.
I knew, even as a kid, so I understand you rent a car when you come into town. Do I ever? And I happen to have 3 minutes about it now.
Right.
You people on highway fill in the blank, 95, you guys are crazy drivers out here.
Yeah.
Oh, we're crazy.
Right.
Do you do morning radio?
I don't do as much road anymore. I did a few road gigs, and I got 2 small kids, and it's hard for me to
I know
get
your
away
act.
from.
I know you got 2 small kids.
Yeah, that's right. So it's hard for me to get away from them, I mean, I shouldn't say get away. It's hard for me to be away from them.
No, you said get away.
But
that's what you meant.
But I always joke around and talk about you end up on the moonshine and catfish hour. You know what I mean? Some wacky
There's
mornings.
always 2 names.
Yeah,
and one guy is
yeah.
named after an animal or a fruit or something.
I never know. It's like, are you supposed to do a bit from your act thinking, okay, then people will get an idea of what it is you do and then they'll come down? Or are you just supposed to, keep it fresh and improvise?
I think it's a combination. I think that if you happen to have like Brian Reagan, I don't know if he does them anymore, but he used to do flat out material. And Brian's a brilliant comedian, but people would get but we just heard this morning. That's what the danger is. If you slip in 1 or 2 lines, that's fine. But
you can't do 15 minutes of your hour. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's what I like about sports radio. You know sports pretty well?
Yeah.
Well, it's like that's your opinion on something that's happening right now, and it doesn't necessarily have to be how stupid the Republicans are and how dumb the Democrats are and all that crap. It can be your real opinion.
It's a world that reinvents itself every 24 hours.
Right. And I do like WIP in Philadelphia Sports Radio and the Paul and Young Ron show. If you ever go to South Florida, if you ever do the improv down there, Paul and Young, you would love that show.
I did that.
Oh, you did it?
Yeah.
They're funny, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. I actually really enjoyed myself on that. And it's, you talk about the sports thing. Like I was having a conversation the other night about Jeter's last game and Yankee Stadium and the...
Unbelievable, huh?
I mean, it really... There was Ian O'Connor had a good piece about, I don't know if you know that guy, New York sports writer. He had a great piece that I had read. I think it was Ian O'Connor, and he was saying basically that that game was everything that Jeter is in that weird good shit happened to him. Somebody throwing his double play ball into right field, that would only happen to Jeter.
Right.
Had an error in the field.
Yeah.
And then had a storybook couldn't believe this if this were in a movie ending.
They changed the whole ending of the night because of that. They were supposed to walk out of center field and into the tunnel with Jeter, symbolically him walking away into the Hall of Fame, and they didn't do it because he had the walk off single.
Yeah,
and didn't he have one in Boston too? An infield single, I think, to close that.
Yeah, and the other thing that just they were talking about how improbable it was. He should have been pulled in the 9th. You know what I mean?
To get him a big ovation.
To get him the big ovation.
Yeah.
They should have walked him to set up the double play. It shouldn't have happened. It's just a series of improbable circumstances, and it's everything, both good and bad, that typifies his career. He just had that. He was just that guy, and his legend is, everybody talks about the fact that he was, not the greatest defensive fielder in the world, wouldn't yield the position to A-Rod, who was a superior defensive player, made A-Rod change. And yet, everybody hated A-Rod and loved Jeter, and because he
for a good reason.
Yeah, and he would do remarkable shit. You could just count on that guy doing something unbelievable.
He rose above the occasion.
Yeah,
it was amazing because he could be fairly average in a lot of ways, and then when the moment came, when the spotlight came on him, it's crazy what a career he had. And I don't think I've ever told this story on this show, but he did something that was just incredible. My brother-in-law's best friend was a guy named Victor, who was the pilot of the United flight going into the Trade Center. And he had two little girls, and they were on a radio talking about their dad, and the guy was, asking them about sports, and they loved Jeter. Jeter finds out about it. Now, you can't do this for everybody, but how beautiful is this? He sends a limo for them and their mom, brings them up to New York, has dinner with them, jackets, the whole thing, dug out the game, sends it back to Philly. Isn't that great?
Wow.
And he never publicized it. He's like Barkley in a sense. Charles Barkley is an old buddy of mine. He does so many good things for people, never talks about it.
Yeah.
I
loved that video of Barkley where he was in, I think he was in like maybe, I want to say Houston in a hotel lobby. And some local sports radio guy started trying to confront him. And, and Barkley turned around and was just like, you better get security to get this guy out of here because I'm getting ready to kick this guy. I mean, I love that and they were like, we're taping this. And he's like, I don't give a shit. You think that's going to stop me from knocking you out? Like, I absolutely adore him for that.
The one thing he regretted was spitting in that kid's face because he didn't mean it, but he shouldn't be spitting. Shouldn't take a chance like that.
Right. But he threw a guy through a plate glass window.
Well, that was the funniest thing because we had to talk about this. I think we were over with Jones, and he was playing for Houston at the time. No, maybe he was still with the Sixers, whatever. He goes, we're talking about fighting and handling the press. Not that I'm an expert. And I said, Charles, you can't throw somebody through a window. And he goes, yeah, but don't. He says, he's trying to explain this. I said, there's no explanation. You got to fucking walk away. Or you just push him. You can't throw a guy through a window. Like, it's not a Western. Life is not a Western.
But, his theory is like, well, he put himself in that situation.
Oh, I know. That's why you love him.
Yeah.
But
it's sort of like, sticking the bear with a fork, it's like you don't do it.
Why would you do something that's that stupid? I mean, people challenge. I've been in situations with famous people that are tough, and one of the funniest ones, and I might have said it on the show already, was Boom Boom Mancini.
Oh, really?
Ray Mancini is a really good guy, an old friend, a Youngstown, Ohio guy with the family roots and Italian and all this shit, and he did it for his father. Great story. This guy comes up to us. He wanted to just talk. His family was watching his show. He came in to see me, and then he comes outside. And this guy goes, Ray, Boom Boom Mancini goes, do me a favor, yeah? Can you hit me? And Raymond goes, what? He goes, I want to feel what it's like to get hit by a professional boxer. I said, listen, man, he can't hit you. He can get in trouble for that. You can't play with. Then he goes, oh, all right. Well, can I hit you then? To Ray. I go, no, you can't fucking hit him. And Raymond's like the nicest guy, much nicer than I. I go, you get the fuck out of here with the hitting. Fucking idiot.
I saw Rogan mention once that, like, years ago, this was a long time ago. I don't think he would ever have done anything like this in the modern era of litigiousness.
Joe
but
has to control
somebody
himself,
somebody asked, basically said, choke me out,
Oh, my God.
And, like, he put the guy to bed,
Did he really?
He said, I did it, because you gotta know what you're doing so you don't hurt somebody. But I think if I remember it correctly, that he just stopped,
because Belzer got that done to him.
Belzer, Hulk Hogan, and he got his head split open.
Yeah.
But I remember years ago. This is if you're recognizable, you become a target for.
Yeah.
There are a couple of instances in my life. I can think specifically of 2 instances in my life where a guy started shit with me just simply for the sake of starting shit with me.
Just somebody who was on television.
Yeah, and
were you on Talk Soup at the time?
Yeah, both times, and the 2 times that I'm thinking of specifically, maybe the reason I remember them is not the only time anybody was ever an asshole to me, but they're the 2 times that I lost my shit, and both times. I brought it to that place, and I'm not far from being a tough guy, but I was so angry that I brought it to the place of physical confrontation, and you could see that look of like, whoa, like no, this isn't. This is not what I anticipated,
you wouldn't expect it from you, but you have a sarcasm to you, which I think is fucking hilarious. And on Talk Soup, I can understand people thinking, what a fucking wise guy. He must be fun to hang with, and maybe getting closer than they really should with you.
Oh, I was at a strip joint with my buddies from my hometown. Picked me up when I flew in. It was like maybe '97.
What's your hometown?
Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh,
and they picked me up at the airport, and we went into New York and started partying, and we were in like a Times Square strip joint at like 3 in the morning.
Classiest.
Yeah, oh no, it was a great situation. I was looking to fall in love, Dom, and. I'm a patron of the arts. I love the dollar ballet.
Oh, yeah.
And
this thing on, hello.
And this girl was giving me a lap dance. No, she was giving a guy. There was we were a table of 4 guys, and there was a table of 4 guys sitting right here. And they were also Westchester County. They didn't look like tough guys. They were had driven in. But this woman was giving a guy a lap dance and then looking over his shoulder and talking to me, and it chapped him. And
he got mad at you?
Yeah.
Like you were cutting in on his...
And I said to I go, just do your thing. We'll talk to you later. And anyway, the guy
did she
ended
recognize
up
you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So my buddies are hanging out, and this guy sits down next to me and just starts in, and he goes, what are you on that shitty show Talk Soup, huh? And I go, yeah, it's nothing to watch, man. And he goes, no, believe me, I know it fucking sucks, and I just started going yeah. And of course, I've been drinking for hours, and he goes, me and my buddies, and I was seated and he was standing up, and I knew from looking at him that I was a good 5 inches taller than him. And he got to a point where he goes, me and my buddies in college, we used to make fun of you all the time. And I go, is that right? And he goes, yeah, we used to own you, actually. And that was I remember it was like I was watching an avatar, a POV avatar of my body. I could see myself do it. I'm looking at my hands on my thighs. I'm going, what am I doing? I'm standing up. And I stood up and I got right in this guy's face and I put both my hands on his shoulder and I shoved him as hard as I could. And he was about 6-8 inches away from it was a mirrored wall. Yeah. And he went back against the mirror and his head cracked the mirror. And you could just see the look of what? That was not what I anticipated, And then all of a sudden,
funny.
His guys jumped up and my guys jumped up. And now there's 8 guys all standing with a fist cocked. And it was is this going to happen? Because it's going to turn into a melee. And all I could think of in my head at that time was, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Also in the news tonight, Talk Soup host John Henson has begun to act like the talk show guest he lampoons. All I could think of was holy shit. And on the way home, and it didn't end up becoming...
They didn't make you pay for the mirror or anything?
No, we just all left. And
I guess they just wanted the trouble out of there.
And my buddy looked at me, he goes... if you think you hated that guy, how much would you have hated him if you had to cut him a check for $25,000? And I was like, you just can't be.
Well, you were lucky you got away.
Yeah, it was a whole other era.
I still think it's not past the statute of limitations. So if you were watching this show,
and we got some unfinished business,
I'll be a witness.
Let's find a new mirrored wall.
So now here's another fight you're revealing. This is an interesting. What is it about this show that makes you purge your past physical sins?
You bring out the primal parts of me, Dom.
I didn't do anything. You're like yapping. You're singing like a canary.
I don't know, man. When I was in high school, it took me 5 years to get through high school, right?
Me too. Five college, 5 high school.
I relieved myself on my own recognizance after 2 years of college.
You never graduated college?
High school education, Dom.
See, that's what helped me in stand-up, getting that little what do you call it?
Piece of paper? Diploma?
The lamp. What kind of skin is sheepskin? That little sheepskin.
Yeah.
That really helped a lot in stand-up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, yeah. That gets you right at the front of the line.
Oh, yeah.
Out front if you were waiting to get on. In high school, I was... I don't know. I wouldn't say I was a bad kid. I'd say I was a good kid who wanted to be a bad kid. But I did a lot of bad shit,
Like what?
I sold drugs,
Did you
committed
really?
crimes, and
Committed crimes?
I stole some car stereos and
really
senseless property vandalization.
I think of you as like a lawyer.
Vandalizing.
I think of you as like I mean, I never think of you like that.
No, I was I don't know. My parents got divorced when I was like 11, and I didn't. Shit got kind of hairy for a while.
We might need to bring in another therapist next time you do the show.
It was like, I was just externalizing a lot of anger at my circumstances. My mom was going through a tough time. I lived alone with my mom, and
So your mom raised you pretty much?
well, my father moved out when I was 11, and my mom kind of melted down. She had a drinking problem, and she wasn't real functional, and so yeah, shit got
So you were
a little chaotic.
acting out. Huh?
Yeah, like starting around 15, 16, 17, I was just dealing weed or whatever, or like,
I wouldn't even know where to get weed to deal it.
I was getting, I would drive down to the projects in Stanford. I could get a quarter pound for $160, $40 an ounce, and break it. That was back when we were selling nickel bags. You know how many fucking nickel bags are in a quarter pound? It's like 235 or something like that, or 238 or something.
I never dreamed having you on the show that you would be breaking down amounts.
238, I
pot.
think, or 200. I don't know, something crazy like.
Did you ever sell cocaine?
Yeah, a little bit.
Is this bad for your image?
Probably.
Maybe. But see, the thing that's great about it, because you don't seem like the bad boy, so it's almost like kind of cooler in a way.
I romanticize
You're like the
that
Tom
dark
Hayden.
side. I romanticize the dark side. I wanted to be a bad boy, and I wasn't. It wasn't. I was trying it on. I was playing the role. But some of the people some of the company that I kept in that era of my life, were genuinely, headed that way, and even then, like even after I got out of college and went to college and stuff, and there would be that moment where you'd be hanging out with people at 18, 19, 20, 21. You're comparing notes on what they've been through, and you just realize like, oh, you probably never stole a car stereo,
Yeah. Well, you have a look about you that is clean cut.
I mean, it's
but which that's probably where people
Right.
get thrown, because I mean after the first show that you did with who's the guy that we were talking about, your wife's husband or your wife's ex?
my ex-wife's the guy that she's married to now.
Right.
Yeah.
That got something in you fucking on fire. That was great. We made it for a great show, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's
I
when
told you that one of the comments that I read on that was probably not a good idea to admit to a premeditated crime and put it online. I was like, point well taken. That's it. Didn't think that one through, but it is what it is.
Don't worry,
I mean,
we got the cops in our hip pocket. I pay everybody off
sure.
before every
They're
show.
waiting out front. They want to do the open mic night.
I remember one time I got a ticket in Boston. The guy said the biggest surprise was he goes, "You're sober." I go, "Yeah, totally. I didn't have a drink." He goes, "What are you, fucking crazy?" Because I backed up on the 93, I think it was, in Boston. I backed up, was snowing, to get off the ramp. He goes, "It's snowing. You're fucking out of your mind." Anyway, the next night I'm on stage in Boston. About 5 Irish cops offered to fix the ticket for me.
You're kidding.
I just took the first one.
That's
was,
great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I mean, I'm not. Look, I am straight laced. That's the funny thing is, I mean, I wear a jacket and tie. I got
know.
two small kids. I go to.
But you went through things that people wouldn't know that
Right.
your image projects. But
Right.
I love the sarcasm you have. I mean,
Well,
that's why I used to love watching you on Talk Soup, because that all came through.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
I want to get back to doing more of that. It's you just make me think of Ike Barinholtz. He's on Mindy Project. He was on Eastbound and Down. He's a good friend of ours, my wife and I's. And I have several. I have a few tattoos, like
See, I wouldn't think that either.
And the first time I went to a pool party with my wife's friends, and I took off my shirt to get in the pool, Ike goes, "Jesus Christ, who knew you were in Eastern Promises?"
What are you, a Maori?
He goes, "What are you? I didn't know you were in the Russian mafia, And it's not like but I have I have my shoulders done, I have my back, I have one on my chest, my leg, I love it, and I don't know. I think it's not, I don't know, maybe if I were to admit it, I would say it's not lost on me the dichotomy of like, you see me and you wouldn't think that I have tattoos.
Right,
So
no, I would never
want
think.
underneath of it is this, I want to look like a fucking subway car in the 80s. You know what I mean? Like, I just love that.
I met a woman who who was married to a tattoo artist, so she was all inked up all over.
Yeah.
And you know what she does for a living now? They got divorced. She removes tattoos.
Is that right?
That's what she does. Yeah, she's a tattoo removal artist.
Yeah. One of the fastest growing industries in the United States.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have the sleeves, right?
No, I don't have the sleeve.
Joe's got them.
Joe went deep.
Yeah, but
But I don't think Joe's getting them removed.
See, it's too much of a commitment for me. Like it's easier to get out of a marriage than it is to get out of tattoos.
All mine are family related.
Well,
I
that's
just figure,
cool. Then you don't want to get rid of them.
You know, I mean,
Well,
it's
people
like,
you love.
yeah.
I know my sister died a few years ago. You know, it destroyed us. But my nephew got her on his shoulder, and to me, it's like I'm a little uncomfortable with it. But it's his mom,
Right.
You know, so what do you say to that? You know,
Yeah.
it's not exactly like getting a steamship
Yeah.
on your chest.
Yeah, an anchor.
Because that's what the tattoos were when I was a kid. It was all like Marlboro men.
Yeah, no, and then you know the tattoos of like I grew up, you know, my grandfather like those eras of in the Army and Navy and stuff. You know, after 20 years, the tattoo just looked like a fucking Rorschach test, a
Right.
big black blob, on your forearm,
And all the hair over it.
Yeah, I got my kids' names on my wrist. You know what I mean?
In case you slit them.
Yeah, exactly. And I know
Just-
I can't do it. No, but it's like it's like if I'm ever away from them, I can shoot my cuff and they're just kind of like it's like a
Oh, that's cool.
reminds
Hey,
me of them. Those are the only ones that you can see. All the other ones are
Yeah,
hidden.
I think they're cool. For me, it's just too much of a commitment. I wouldn't know where to start and where. But the thing is, it's obviously an addiction with some people.
Oh, there's an expression I love. They say it's a mile to your first and a minute to your second.
Yeah. But the thing is, the face one is the one that's a little over the top.
The face and the neck, anything from the chest, the
Yeah.
clavicle up, to me, that's like you're just going, hey, you know what? I don't ever want to work again.
Yeah.
Because
you go
who's
into
going to look at the guy with fucking LA and Gothic lettering on his neck and be like, you're working the register? You know what I mean?
I can't help but look at them too, and they must be looked at all the time.
Yeah.
There was a guy in Jones that his whole face was tattooed.
Yeah.
Different shit, teardrops and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was fucking mine. John, you're going to be in Long Island soon, aren't you? Well, because I'm at Governor's.
Me?
Yeah.
No. Why? They got my
no,
name
at
up there?
Governor, no, I'm just saying that to get a plug in.
Yeah.
I mean, if you happen to be in Levittown or
Yeah.
Belmore,
Yeah. As I frequently am.
and if you're not there,
I remember Governors, man. I played Governor.
Oh, I'm sure you did. It's great. It's still a thriving club. Plus, now they own all three clubs. So it's basically like, you don't feel like coming to us? We'll come to you. We'll come to your neighborhood.
Right.
They have McGuire's out in Suffolk County, and Nassau County they have Governors and Belmore and Brokerage.
Yeah.
Remember the Brokerage?
You remember Grandpa Al's?
I never worked there. That was Al from the Munsters,
Yeah.
right? And he was Schnauzer on Car 54.
Yeah. And just a crazy old drunk back when I was.
Oh, you worked it?
I mean, yeah, when I first started out
Yeah.
in the era, late 80s, early 90s.
No, I never saw that club. I worked Staten Island a couple times. All the guys, you ever watch Impractical Jokers?
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are from Staten Island.
Oh, really?
I had them all on one show.
What
Here.
was that like?
It's fucking great. They're hilarious.
Yeah.
And they have that relationship that you can only have with time. They know each other so well, and so always busting Murray's balls. And
You can't. It's impossible for a show like that. You can't pitch it on paper. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't. That doesn't. It's the relationship, the chemistry. It's like Johnny Knoxville and his group of guys. Like you can't. How is that going to be captured in a one-sheet pitch for an executive to read?
can't,
You just got to see.
Yeah.
You're
right.
Johnny wandering around, taking every opportunity that he has to like smack Steve-O in the nuts and then, shave somebody's hair.
Do you know him at all?
I met him a few times, yeah.
We work out at the same gym. Now, with that said, he works out a lot more than I do. But he's the most mellow, nicest.
Yeah.
You would never think he's a fucking crazy guy. I said to him one time, I said, it's amazing what you guys do. I said, you, as professional stuntmen, what you do. I mean, I know you got to warn kids not to try this stuff and all that. He goes, Tom, we're not professional. We don't know. He says, we're just a bunch of fucking assholes who do, you know. I
They got
said,
no
"What do you mean?"
training. They're just willing to do it.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The alligator nipping at their balls and
Oh, yeah.
crazy shit.
He, you know, I ran into him a couple of years ago at a preschool fundraiser when my wife and I were like looking at preschools for our kids.
So he has a kid around. your
Yeah,
kid
he had
that-
his daughter's a little bit older, and I think he's got a couple of kids. But he had like a kid who I think had gone to this preschool or was there or something. We didn't end up going there, but we went to this fundraiser, and I saw him. I walked over and said hi to him, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I love Wipeout." And I go, it blew my mind. I go,
Well,
I would
sure.
think that it's so tame compared
Oh.
to what you're used to. And he goes, he had the greatest response, and it really summed up everything. He goes, yeah, it's just fun watching people get smoked. And I was like, that's it. That's the whole allure of the show. It's fun watching someone else
Yeah.
get their ass handed
Well,
to
I
them.
can't believe that show sometimes. I mean, I can't believe the beating they take. I mean, those people, when they're hopping from one thing to another and some fucking fist comes around and just knocks them, it's incredible to me that they would do
Yeah,
that.
we test the limits of the human spine on that show.
Wait,
I tried to get
has
a
anybody
line
been
in.
seriously hurt?
No, I mean, you know, people have gotten hurt, but nobody's.
Nobody's been paralyzed or anything.
Yeah, and I
They
had
they must have to sign stuff, huh?
Oh, yeah, they do. And I tried to get a line in a couple of seasons ago. I was so happy about this line, but I couldn't get it in. You know, they're so sensitive about you, the way you handle certain things. And
Right.
there's a specific type of wipeout on the show. Like if you face plant so hard that your back bows up and your feet come up and touch the back of your head, like the
Wow.
soles of your feet touch the back of your head,
Yeah.
we call that a scorpion. You know,
Uh-huh.
because of the way So this woman scorpion so violently, and then like was flat on the ground for a second, and then popped up and started running. That I pitched the line. I go, how about when when her feet touch her head and she's laying there, I go, oh my God, do we need to get new jobs now? And then she pops up and runs, and I go, nope, we're okay. And they were like, no.
wouldn't leave it?
And I go, I don't say anything about broken back or paralyzed. I don't
Oh.
use any but the buzzwords.
Right.
Buzzwords we're supposed to avoid.
They
They're
got a
like-
lot of balls
Their-
editing that with the
their
stuff
response was, we know what you're trying to say. You
Right.
know, I just, all right, you know.
Well,
gotta
I
be
told
very-
you. You know what made me think of you? I hadn't seen you for a while, and I loved having you on the show. You know, and I appreciate you coming back. But I when I saw you do that balding thing, I was howling laughing. Well, the you know when you came out with the bald thing.
Oh,
and said,
yeah, the bald cap. Yeah, the bald cap episode.
What was the thing about you can like it's just the opposite of regular commercials when they say
Oh, yeah.
give you a
It's-
full
my,
head.
John, my co-host goes, why, Johnny, what happened? And I go, well, I've been working on a revolutionary hair loss treatment. And he goes, how's it work? I go, great, I lost all my hair. And he goes, you know, hair loss treatments are supposed to help you grow hair. And I did not know that, you know. But it was like, I think I told you, like I had done a bald cap for my wife's, we had a costume party for her 40th. And I'd gone as Yul Brynner in The King and I.
Oh, right.
And I had a full-on professional makeup artist do it, and it would look so good.
Well, it was so funny because you have such good hair. So funny to see you bald. You know.
That was the funny thing was that the guy who created the show, I called him. I go, we got to do a bald cap show. He goes, I don't understand. Why would you be bald? And I was so incredulous. Who fucking cares why? I'll make up a reason. It doesn't matter,
It's
man.
funny. Does
He
it
goes,
have
yeah,
to-
why would we do it? I go, why not do it? It's something to talk about. Do
Yeah.
something different, you
I know that shows something about his sense of humor.
It was, listen, I mean, he let me do it. I was
Yeah.
tickled pink that he let me do it. But then they buried it on it was like they did think we did it on a holiday weekend, like
I don't know,
Liberty
but
weekend
I
or
was.
whatever.
I mean, I know I was laughing more because it was you too, but I think it was a funny bit on its own.
Yeah.
Revolutionary hair loss.
Yeah, it was fun, man. We had so much fun. And it really did. I mean, it was when I did it for my wife's costume party, it was people were coming up to me and going, did you really shave your head for this party? And I go, yes, I shaved my fucking head for a costume party. I got to be on TV next week, but I shaved my fucking head for a 3-hour party. Yes.
Right. Well, I go to this thing. It's a hair replacement thing, but it's not plugs or anything. It's just they put like these needles in your head. Now I picture them behind me going.
Sounds wonderful.
I picture them behind me going. like making fucking faces and shit. But no, but a lot of celebrities go there, and what's funny about it is they have a celebrity entrance.
You told me about
I
one of the
did?
celebrities who goes there or went there that you turned on to it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, Daniel Tosh is no. Daniel does it on his show.
he does? Okay.
So I would never rat anybody out that was my friend. But he's the reason I went there. But there are people like movie stars and stuff that go in this. I think it's so funny. First of all, why are you embarrassed to try and get your hair back?
Yeah.
What it's like, it's natural. Male pattern baldness is a very natural thing. I don't happen to want to be bald, and if I am, I'll wear a hat. you
Right.
know? But anyway, like some guys. But I've seen a couple people sneaking in, movie stars, fucking hilarious. I won't name them for their. I don't want my doctor.
'Cause, God forbid you can't get, like.
God forbid I get frozen out of the movie industry.
Yeah. Mel Gibson won't do your podcast.
I shoot so many films. Well, you know that I'm at Hasbro Kites Bananas the weekend before Thanksgiving.
I had heard that. I think I read that on the bathroom wall in there.
I'm the worst one. Are you going on the road at all?
I got a spot here tonight. I got a spot here
Do you
tonight
really?
at 10:20. Are you?
Oh, you're not on my show.
No. When is yours? The 8 o'clock?
Yeah, Breaking Balls.
They put me on the 10:20. How come you were Wednesday last week?
They switch it sometime.
Okay.
I don't know. There's no real reason. Sometimes Kevin Nealon does Tuesday, and I'll do Wednesday.
Right.
Tonight I'm doing Tuesday because I got to go to Chicago tomorrow for the Laugh Factory.
I will. I'll try to come down early. Catch you interviewing Whitney Cummings.
Yeah, she scares me a little.
Is that right?
Well, because she's so funny and she's so witty, and it would make my dick shrivel.
You get a little shrinkage, just the strength of character.
Yeah, because I would just it's like with Tiffany Haddish, that beautiful black girl.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to hear is you call that a dick.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm already sensitive enough with my own thing. But anyway,
That's what it's like being married to a comic, or my wife is like. I always say it's hard for a comic not even being the funniest person in your house.
She's pretty funny, huh?
She's very fucking funny. My wife.
I know that you keep her away from me. Is there any reason?
No, this is the God's honest truth. Here's a perfect example of shit my wife says that just fucking crushes me, man. We were flipping through a cable, and I was just hitting the up button, just going, channel to channel to channel, and we went by like Skinamax,
Right.
and there was a chick who was like bent over, and it was like a gynecological shot,
it was.
It was.
You could see everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, how did you get that without paying for it?
I did. It was just a weird, it was literally just a normal Skinamax channel, but it was just a moment. It wasn't like the entire thing was that graphic. It was just a flash.
Right.
But my wife's response was she goes, "Oh my God, beef. It's what's for dinner." And I just couldn't stop laughing, man. Like, it was just like her natural reaction.
That's funny. Well, would it bother her if you got turned on?
No, my wife loves softcore porn. She says, like, I like softcore porn, but I don't want to see hardcore porn. She's like, I don't like when it's what'd she say? I don't like when it's dick, pussy, pound. Like, she just wants to see softcore.
I like the ones with more of a story. Like the young girl comes over to live with the old aunt, and for some reason she feels a need to bathe her.
Yeah, right. Or she falls in love with a gardener and stands topless in the window, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I like the girl things a lot.
This is a story that you like, the girl.
A lot of them, yeah.
I told this story on
I like to
Seth
see women
Meyers'
getting
show.
along. That's
Yeah, sure. Well, we love to see that, right? This is the God's honest truth. My wife and I were watching. We got a little softcore thing at our house, and we put on.
The kids ever walk in on this?
That's the fucking problem with it. I don't have a lock on my bedroom door. I got to get a lock on my bedroom door. So when we want to fool around. I did this the other night.
Oh, you don't want them walking on that?
No, I literally have to pick up an ottoman and waddle across my room and wedge it in front of the door like I'm fucking barricading it against the zombie apocalypse. Like I have to move furniture to get laid in my own home. And and I had blocked the door, and we put on some softcore, and we're watching it, and all of a sudden there's an exterior shot of a house, and we go, "Oh, that is our house."
Was it really?
And the next shot, in our fucking kitchen. We've lived in our house for 2 years. The guy who owned it beforehand used to rent it out for television film production. I knew that. And all of a sudden, like 2 seconds later, there's a couple banging in our bedroom, and I'm sitting next to my wife in bed. I go, that's happening right here, right in this area.
Wow.
And my wife, I keep joking about this, but my wife.
That's amazing odds.
My wife wanted to watch the entire movie because, like, it's like, the way women watch porn. Not a lot of women, watching porn for the real estate angle. My wife was like, no, don't turn it off yet. I want to see if they show the kitchen. Like, she wanted to see, let's see how the backyard looks on camera. It was ridiculous.
I never heard that before.
Yeah, it's called Criminal Desires.
I always wonder where those houses are. I mean, I know they shoot a lot in the Valley. Are you in the Valley?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's because Vivid's out there, and I don't know who else. That's a riot, man.
So now we're going to have a reenactment on Saturday.
No, but you got to be careful with the kids. You got to because you don't want to traumatize your children by seeing your big white ass pumping up and down.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
How old are they?
3.5 and 1.5.
Oh, well, they're...
Yeah.
3.5 could be cognizant of something like that. The 1.5 is just...
Yeah.
Daddy, stop. You're killing mommy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, why are you giving her the Heimlich maneuver again and again and again?
She didn't even eat anything. Dad. So, now, you're waiting to see if Wipeout gets picked up?
Yeah, I mean,
What do you feel? Do you want it, or do you...
I mean, look, I would love for the show to run as long as it can.
It's an easy gig for you, isn't it?
7 years is a long time.
It's great. It's a great... And now,
so I just... You feel like... I mean, it's like, it's like a 90-year-old person dying. It's hard to feel like they had happened before their time. You know what I mean? It's
you
7
still
years.
love them, but...
Yeah, exactly. So, I would be... At this point, I would be shocked if it came back for an 8th season. But I was shocked it came back for a 7th season. So, I just, comics, I'm a negative thinker. I'm a glass half empty kind of guy, John. So
it's not only empty, but there's a vapor coming out of it.
My attitude is assume that it won't, and then if it does, it's a wonderful surprise. But, we had a great run, man.
Oh, my God.
130-something shows.
Yeah,
and,
no,
so, yeah, it is what it is at this point. We had a good run.
There's nothing like it on television, is there?
Well, American Ninja Warrior, but it's not a comedy. It's just an athletic competition.
I don't believe the spirit of some of those people you have. It's relentless.
Well, it's just always also like, I guess less. In the first few seasons, it was almost kind of like cruel that we were picking people, like, hey, lady, you're 5'4", $195. I got a good feeling about you. Go get him, Tiger. You know what I mean? Like we just,
I don't even know what they win.
Is
it money?
Yeah, cash prize.
Oh, okay. Because I'm just so fascinated by them getting the shit beat out of them.
Yeah. The winner gets money. Second place, nothing.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You can go that far and take that wicked a beating. And get nothing.
Yeah, man.
Nothing?
As I like
Not
to
even
say,
a trip or anything?
As I like to say, when we say winner, really what we mean is everyone else lost worse. Because nobody really wins Wipeout. You take a fucking beating even if you come in first.
How much did they win?
I think it was originally started out at $50,000.
Could you get me on the show?
I can put in a good word.
There's no way I would ever do that.
No, I wouldn't do it either.
I was thinking about that because, the volcano, there's a volcano in Japan. And it's a live volcano. It's an active volcano.
And it just went off, right?
went off, and people were hiking up there.
It went off like it's a gun.
But it fucking
Somebody
exploded.
stepped on the volcano's trigger.
But who the fuck does a hike on a live or an active
They
volcano?
lost a bunch of hikers that were up at the top of that thing, and there was a really compelling video of a guy that was had his camera out and you could see it coming out and he was running, and then all of a sudden it's just cloud of blackness comes over.
And they found the camera, but he died, right?
I don't know if he died or if he I don't know. I didn't.
I heard they had to get people up there now, rescuers, because the gases were poisonous.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
But who the fuck goes up there? I mean, my thing is, it's a shame to put rescuers' lives in jeopardy because you're an idiot.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, that whole first responder business is.
Yeah, fuck that.
You know what? Better to be the third or fourth responder, maybe
The
the
cleanup.
ninth responder. They need somebody to come in and
Oh,
bring them
man.
water. I mean, because those guys, like when like you said, like when you get, hikers, these idiots that get caught in really awful places, and
Yeah.
it happens all the time. Whether it's cold weather stuff or idiots going out into the desert without water and.
Oh yeah. Well, I always wonder about the women and children first theory, and how much what I would really react in the situation of the Titanic and getting on the boat. Whether you know what I mean, like because you can be philosophical about it all you want, but you're not in that situation.
Right.
So
Women
I-
and children first. Line forms after me.
Right. I don't know what I'd do. I mean, I hope to think I'm brave. I hope to think I would be.
Well, I think it depends on whether or not it's your women or children.
Well, yeah.
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
you know, you're not going to leave your kids behind, your own children.
Right. But your kids,
Maybe.
maybe I'd be okay leaving behind. Yeah.
Hey,
no,
everybody got to die.
Yeah. Exactly. Let's be honest. Are you a well-behaved child? This might be a tough lesson for you to learn.
Are you stocking up some material in case you do have to go on the road again?
No, I mean, I guess
I mean, I noticed you did a lot of new stuff last week.
I'm trying. I always try to bring some new stuff.
That's good.
I mean, that's like a challenge because, I took a long time off of stand-up. I took 16 years off.
Oh, my God, really?
Yeah, I've only been doing it again for 2 years.
Well, we talked about, I forgot it was that long, because I remember talking to you when you first came back here.
Yeah.
And you did great. It was your first time on, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
And I remember saying, holy shit, I can't believe you were that smooth. And I know you're performing on Talk
Yeah,
Show.
I'm still writing comedy, but it's different than doing live stage comedy. And what I do on television is I'm writing a lot of jokes, but I'm also not I'm not writing nightclub jokes. I'm also not always able to write about what I want to write about. In TV writing, it's like they give you a topic and they give you a deadline, and you just got to crank it out. And
I'm interested in the way crowds react to you, because it reminds, like, you're not nearly as dirty as Saget, but
I'm trying.
You got some things that are pretty funny and raunchy,
Yeah.
but you kind of go between that. Bob is really a pig,
Yeah.
and he really, I mean, funny as shit, but they're really shocked by him.
Yeah.
I think you're somewhere in that area where, I didn't know he would say that.
Well, that's the thing. When I did go on the road, the few times that I went on the road, first of all, Wipeout is a family show, so it's a lot of kids watching with their parents. The kids aren't going to come and see me,
Yeah.
and if the parents are coming to see me because they're expecting the guy from Wipeout, they're like, "Holy shit! Did he just say what I think he said?" So. Yeah, I mean, I guess if Wipeout goes away, I'll think about going on the road more. But
I'm sure
I've
you
been
would have a
fortunate
following.
enough to work, in TV and do some
Yeah,
producing
you'll always
stuff.
get something, for sure. You're so,
I mean, we'll see. I've been really lucky. You know what's crazy, man? I didn't think about this until recently. In January of 2015, will be 20 years in television for me.
wow.
That's crazy.
That's great.
To me. That's crazy to me. I mean, and I it's a big. Believe me, it is a big regret in my life that I moved towards TV and stopped stand-up for as long as I did, because I look at the guys who continued and have done it for 20, 25, 30 years, and I have so much admiration for how far their art has moved forward. But I had this opportunity to work in TV, and I became obsessed
who's
with
going
it.
to turn down that?
Well, but
know.
now it's like, so now that I'm doubling back and I go, okay, now I'm going to try stand. When I see people like you, or people whose acts I really respect that have never stopped, I feel like, holy shit, I got to bring it. Like, I don't want to be the guy that people have to like, hey, good to see you.
No, that's not going to happen to you. But the thing is, it is hard. You get rusty and you don't even realize it because you're doing something else. Because it's like playing ball. You got to practice.
Right.
You can't just be funny.
Right.
And especially, do you have writers for Wipeout?
Yeah.
So you got that. I mean, you don't have that in real life in comedy usually.
Right.
They don't
Well,
have-
there's a huge volume, because I think I've told you this, but I would estimate that we write 10 jokes for every joke that makes it into the show.
Of course.
You know, so the volume of material.
Yeah.
And if you watch Wipeout and you're like, if you pay attention, it's just fucking nonstop. I mean, it's just wall to wall.
Oh, yeah.
There's no, you know, it's a very specific kind of writing because there's no time for a setup. The action moves so fast. It's just punchline, 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 punchline. And it's, you know, when you watch somebody like, if you see like Phyllis Diller's old act, you just realize like, she's doing fucking like 8-10 jokes a minute.
Yeah.
Because there's no, it's just bam, bam, bam. And that's a very specific muscle to flex.
Now, did you
know?
audition for that?
Wipeout?
Yeah.
Yeah, I came along after they had shot the pilot.
Okay, because they wanted me to audition for it, and I just didn't think I was qualified to do it. You know, I just didn't think I was going to be good at something like that if I got it, and I didn't think I'd get it, so I didn't waste my time. You know,
It was a weird circumstance. My wife and I were going on a vacation to Europe the day after the audition.
so that was 8 years ago, right?
Yeah, this would have been in 2008.
Okay.
And in the spring of 2008. And so I went in, and they, you know, like the audition breakdown was like, well, you just watch this videotape and make fun of people doing stupid stuff on video. And I was like, I think I can do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I did it for a long time on Talk Soup. So I went in and probably was a little, you know, more confident than I arguably should have been. And I watched, it was, you know, the guy said, all right, I'm going to play this tape. You're just watching a monitor and they're shooting you and you just riff watching a monitor. And I did it like straightforward through like 5 minutes, just making jokes. And I stopped at the end and he goes, do you want to do it again? And I went, nope. And I walked out and I thought, man, I'm going to get a call while I'm in Europe saying they want to see me again. Right. And I'm going to have to fly back from Europe at my own expense, and I'm not going to get the job. You know, like that's the way my mind worked.
I like that, yeah.
And I was in Paris and got the phone call like 3 a.m. that I had gotten it. And
they just gave it to you?
Yeah, they gave it to me because they were going to air. They had already been picked up, and they were just.
So they did a pilot that they aired?
Yeah, another comic had done the pilot. Did I say his name?
Yeah.
Elon Gold.
Oh, well, I love Elon.
So do I.
Yeah, no.
But Elon and I came down to the wire for Talk Soup. And Elon's such a class act, man. I mean, I saw him a few years ago, and he looked at me and goes, "You
cost me.
owe me $1 million." I was like, "No, it's not $1 million." He goes, "Well, you owe me a nice fruit basket. You send me something good at the holidays."
No, he was great. He was on the show a couple weeks ago, and
yeah,
he's so fucking silly. I love him, but I mean,
he did the pilot, and I don't think he enjoyed it. I mean, I think, you know, I don't.
Well, you were so much more qualified because of the Talk Soup thing.
But he had gotten the pilot. I mean, look, I just, you know,
not to put him down. I love the guy.
No, me too. And to be honest with you, the first year of Wipeout, they did not want us to quote unquote steal focus from that the course was the star of the show. You know, stop with the jokes. And I was like, I don't understand why, you know, children and dumb people are going to watch no matter what. Why not make some jokes and try to loop in a more discerning audience?
Yeah.
And, but it was a big fight that first year or two to get like a green screen exchange between me and my co-host to have us do a back and forth. Like we used to have to raised voice arguments to get like, one bit in a show, we could get one. And by third or fourth season, it was fucking jailbreak. I'm wearing wigs and in costume and doing accents and shit, you know?
I love that stuff. I mean, it is funny to think of how your life changes, though, the course of your life, because, you know, Elon's got kids, too. And
he's got like 4 kids or something.
Can't have a lot of the things in life because he didn't get that job.
No, listen, that guy works probably more than I do. He does a lot of shit, that guy.
Is he Jewish?
A little bit. I think so. A little bit.
You know what I love about him? He's one of those guys that I got. You know, like some people like you know, I can, no matter how, like, wise, you're not as easy because you know my sarcasm. But I'll say something to him. He goes, really? You know, like Todd Glass is like that.
Right. Yeah,
you don't
buy into it.
I mean, I said to him one time when I was doing radio, they called me up to bust his balls. I go, he goes, you never thought I was funny, did you? I said, Todd, I always thought you were funny. I mean, not laugh out loud funny. But, you know, amusing. I mean, like And he repeated it last week when he was on the show. Yeah, and I loved it. I go, you're like kind of the headliner who fills in for the real headliner. Like you're the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday headliner. And you know what? It was true.
You took it personally.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I love the guy. And the thing is, the people I hate, I would never even bother with. There's so few of them.
Right.
I would never have them on the show. I would never, I've named them on this show before.
Yeah.
Anybody gets under your skin in this business?
No, I mean, not really. I'm still, I used to say this about comedy. Like people go, "What comics do you like?" To me, it's like if you go to Tower Records and there's a kid with a green mohawk behind the counter.
Right.
But if you ask him to recommend a country album, he's going to know that Hank Williams is good country music. Because even though that might not be his favorite form of music, he just fucking loves music.
Right.
And that's the way I am about comedy. Like there's people that really, really make me laugh. And then there's people that maybe it's not my brand of humor, but I recognize it for its craft.
Yeah.
I recognize how effective it is and how much work went into it and the artistry that they have over it. And so even if it's not going to crush me, I have an appreciation for it because I just fucking, I've just, to me, this is my music, man. I just love it.
Yeah, you know what? It makes it fun doing that show I do because of that. Because I get to see a strong 10, 15 minutes and then I get to talk to them.
Right.
And it's kind of cool, kind of fills the whole circle around them. Well, you get to know that person a little more. And it's very funny for me to see people being insecure, like Whitney. Like Whitney, I can still get her. Now, she is so fucking accomplished.
Well, I would say it's probably interesting when people are uncomfortable being interviewed because they have their act, and then when you take their act away, they go "What? I don't know what to do and where to put my hands and how I get insecure and what am I going to say next?"
I found Sebastian to be like that, who's a terrific stand-up.
Yeah.
But he was a little shy on the interview.
Yeah.
And then you get people like Elon. Poor guy never got the gig. He fucking is so goofy. He'll go into impressions and
endless. No, he's so talented. It's what I've always gotten a kick out of because my wife came out of improv. That every once in a while I'll go do an improv show with my wife and her friends where I just do a guest thing, but improv comics look at stand-ups and they go, I don't know how you do that, man. And I go,
and
what
vice
the fuck
versa.
are you talking about?
Yeah.
I write my whole act ahead of time. And they go, yeah, but you're on stage alone.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, but you guys don't have any material. You're just making it up. And their attitude is, yeah, but I got 2 or 3 other people that I can rely on. So they're terrified of stand-up the same way a lot of comics are terrified of improv. It's like there's sides of the same coin, but each one has respect for the other.
I think improv is a little easier only because of that, because you can rely on somebody else. Writing original stand-up comedy is the hardest fucking thing. And I come out of improv myself. And the thing I liked about it was I'd rather play basketball than tennis.
Right.
And I like, dishing off and I don't have to get every laugh and you can build it, But in stand-up, you are that especially now, it's like writing a love song in 2015.
Right.
Is really fucking hard because
you get a new point about love.
Every love song. And even in comedy, it's everything. If you're going to talk about an airport, man, it better be your own point of view and original. Because the airports have been beaten to death, So that's where I think it's a little harder. I mean, I don't think really great improv is a different thing. When people are they tie it all in. My ex-wife was great. And she would sing this French song about war-torn France and always tie it in with whatever the request was, that kind of stuff. That's different. But regular general improv, because we're improving today.
Right.
It's not like we had a script and sat down. And some of the stuff hopefully was funny and some of it's serious. And, but I think people they think they have to write a joke a minute. You can't do that. And then it makes it look too forced anyway.
Right.
And improv should be just naturally coming out of you because you listen to the other person.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, that's when I go see her
finished.
and her friends.
You're not listening to me.
Her friends, these are all guys that came, have been doing improv for 15, 20 years. And so when you watch them, it's like watching the Globetrotters.
Yeah.
Like they're just throwing fucking alley-oops from 35 feet
Yeah.
out, you know. They make it look so effortless, you know, and they know each other's instincts. They perform together that it's really masterful to watch, you know.
What, Brad Sherwood, you know him? Brad.
I don't know him
Brad
personally,
and
but I know
Colin
him, yeah.
Mockery. They're so fucking good. And I was on stage. I was in Montreal waiting to go on, and they were on ahead of me. And I'm fucking laughing. I'm going, and I go, what am I laughing at? I got to follow these fuckers.
Yeah.
You know? But luckily I had, it was a 20th anniversary or something, and I had video to go to, which made it easier than just coming out and doing regular stand-up. But they're so fucking good. That's an example of taking it to a different level.
I remember going to see Seinfeld. He was in my hometown of Stamford, Connecticut, and I was seeing my family, and they had tickets to go see Seinfeld. And it was in 92. I'd been doing stand-up for a few years, and I was like, no, you know, I'm a comic. All right, I'll go sit in the audience like a schmo. I laughed so hard. I mean, I laughed to a point where I was embarrassed that I would try to call myself a comic, and I would be literally slapping my leg. Like, it just crushed me how...
Jerry's brilliant. And he's like you were saying, he likes comedy. Jerry really, you know, he can have a pompous facade, and, you know, Jerry can be Jerry on some things, but man, does he really fucking laugh at stand-up. And I always admired that about him, you know, because he was always a big act. When I started out, we all got $75, but his $75 seemed bigger.
Right.
Everything, you know, like Jerry was always good.
Yeah.
You know, I remember him when I first passed at the comic strip in New York. He was already fucking good.
I feel like that's a mark of a comic that is confident, is somebody that can be a supportive audience of other comics, like somebody that doesn't have to motherfuck somebody left and right and talk shit about, you know, roll their eyes and you know, and make snide comments. I mean, you know, somebody who can root for other comics because you really know you're running the race against yourself. You're not
really,
running
you
it
are
against somebody else.
Yeah, and I remember being upstairs. I think I told this story on this. And Jim Brogan's up there. Now, I like Jim, but you know, he's an old school dude that can be a little bit bitter and jealous towards some of the young comics, you know, and I hope that doesn't come out wrong. But
said with love.
No, it is said with love. I mean, I think that he would admit that. But Chris D'Elia was on stage, and I said,
Very funny.
He's brilliant performer, you know. And Jim goes, I don't get it. I just don't get it. You know, he's looking to like ally himself with me because like maybe we're closer in age. And I go, Jim, it doesn't matter that you get it. Listen to the audience; they get it.
Yeah,
that's what counts. Not for you to be amused.
Yeah,
you know, we know we know the tricks to stand-up comedy. We know the talent it takes.
Yeah,
you know, it's like
I'll never forget years ago in New York City. We were all sitting around. I mean, we were all like waiting for our first, you know, just to book our first Carolines or evening at the Improv. Whenever we were young guys in our early 20s. And people were bitching about, you know, how come this guy got this show, the MTV half-hour comedy hour, and I didn't get it. And you remember a guy named Brian McFadden? White guy, Brian McFadden.
I know the name.
And I used to do impressions. I'm not sure what he's doing now. I think he still does some stand-up, but I think he does like voiceovers and stuff. But he said something that was so prophetic for a young guy. He goes, I don't know, man. Like, if you just go on and kill every night, nobody can hold you back. Like, what difference does it make who gets what? You just fucking go on and kill every night, and you're gonna move. And that's the thing that I love about the people that I started out with is everybody who didn't give up has moved on, whether they went into write TV or be on TV or stay in stand-up or whatever, you know, or write movies or sitcoms. Like, everybody progressed because they didn't give up, you know? And they kept going. They just got good.
Well, that's what I tell young comics sometimes when they ask me. It frustrates them with my answer because I say, they go, how do I headline? I go, you don't. You headline. It's not something you do. What you do is be great in stand-up that nobody can deny. Like, people are going to the club owner. Who was that second guy?
Right.
You really should have him back.
Right.
That's how you headline. You don't headline because your uncle is a friend of the president of show business.
Yeah, because you got this guy to watch your tape. And
Yeah, you headline because you're in demand. You have to be you have to be strong every night.
Yeah.
You know, you can't people. I love when people get laughs and they think that's you're supposed to get laughs.
Yeah.
But you know, the really good guys get big laughs.
You,
Yeah.
you talk about how to headline. You remind me of Vic Henley.
Yeah.
Vic Henley, one of my favorite Vic Henley stories was he was emceeing at some club, and the owner said, like, you know, the headliner didn't show up. Can you do his time? And Vic's answer was, I got 5 minutes of material. I can do as long as you want. That's such
great.
a great attitude, you know. You tell me what you want me. I got 5 minutes. I'm gonna preface this by saying I've got 5 minutes of jokes. I'll do an hour and a half if you want me to. You
Well,
know?
I had a situation where this guy Hiram Caston booked me for
I know
a $75 gig, which was big money in them because most of the gigs were around 50, 55.
Yeah.
And he said, but I had to do 45 minutes. I said, Hiram, I don't have 45 minutes. I have 25 minutes. He goes, you know, like if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
That's what it was like. He goes, it'll come to you. It'll go like Jesus with the loaves.
Right.
And I mean,
I thought you were gonna say. He said, you know, Hiram, I can't do it. I got 25 minutes. Do it twice.
and articulate the second time. No, I mean, I did it, but I didn't really do it. I talked to them.
Well,
You
that's
know.
the thing. I mean, you're never ready to do an hour until you do an hour.
Yeah, it's an hour material, especially like in a fucking casino. I do the Tropicana. And you really got to pump out material because it's 2,000 people and you can't see them.
Yeah.
So, you know.
That's a nightmare scenario, man. That's why the comedy
you gotta
store
be in
scares
shape
the
for
hell
that.
out of me, man, because you can't see the audience, and they
Oh,
don't.
you can have them lit if you want.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you just ask the lighting guy.
Okay, because I haven't been in there in 20 years, but
You're talking about it like you're in there last week.
Well-
You know what bothers me about the Comedy Store?
Dom, I've seen everything I need to see.
In 1989, I was...
But it's like, I just remember walking into that room back then, and it was a zoo, man. The audience was talking back to the comics. You couldn't see anything. It's like Dangerfield used to be in New York City, man, where they, everybody's just
That was-
silhouetted. You can't see anything. It was like doing, I used to say it was like doing stand-up. If there was a stand-up club in the hotel in The Shining, that's what doing Dangerfields was
Yeah,
like,
it was a
you
little
know?
bit spooky. John, thanks a lot for coming back, man.
Yeah, man.
Love
Thanks
you,
for
brother.
having
Thanks. See you soon. John Henson, look for him on Wipeout, and if Wipeout gets wiped out, then he'll be at a theater near you.
And by the way, do you take SAG-AFTRA insurance as my therapist? Am I going to get a reimbursement? Are you gonna
Thank you for revealing your tattoos and your partial anger and your other fight at a strip club.
Yeah.
These are things people didn't know about
I
you.
know my wife would be very proud.
But if you're out in Las Vegas, I will be at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club October 20th. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
John Henson, everybody. Give him a hand.